Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you. It's Tuesday night. It still stings. So where else would you rather be as the Steelers fans to enjoy this misery together? And trust me, I'm going to talk about misery. But with me as always, except when he's not, is my big brother Rich. Rich, how's it going? yeah, can't breathe it in.
That game just made me want to puke.
I tell you, it's interesting because we're going to dive right into stuff. Why not? You know what? I'm going to do something else first before we dive right into it. Because for those of you who didn't watch the post-game show or other things like that, if you didn't know, yes, I was there, and I'm going to talk about a little bit with stuff that's there. And I will also tell you, I have been so busy since because I got home so late on Sunday that I haven't had a chance to watch the TV version of the game, and I haven't wanted to. I just haven't wanted to because this is a compressed week with a game on Thursday that there's so many other things. But before we do that, I have to bring up something else. It is Steel Curtain Network related, and that is we have a winner.
It's over.
The Survivor contest is over. The Donnie Shell signed football, which I have, it's sitting here somewhere close to me. Oh, my wife moved stuff. It's sitting on the other side of my screen over there, so I can't reach it right now. It now belongs to someone. I got to get it to him. Okay, we had a winner. The screen name for the winner was Jimbo's Picks. And if you come and read at steelcurtainnetwork.com, or if you're in the comment section, you can go look at that article that I announced the winner. Jimbo is in there commenting on it, that he there won it. Here's what it came down to. 5 people were left. 2 of them picked the Steelers. Jimbo picked Tampa Bay.
That hurts.
That hurts. That hurts a lot. Jimbo picked Tampa Bay. And the other 2 picked Jacksonville. And it was like, wow. So
from 5 to a winner in on a week. That doesn't happen very often.
No, because normally if you lose a bunch at the end, you lose them all. So if we would have lost all 5, then we would have had to reset with those 5 where they would have to keep going. But this is, I think this might be the earliest that we had a winner without having to reset because everyone got eliminated. I don't know. But anyway, congratulations, Jimbo. Just wanted to get that piece of business out there. Also to let you all know that we should have pretty much our regular shows coming, except there won't be a preview Thursday night. It'll be the post-game show. And for those of you on the audio side, the Last Minute Thoughts and Stat Geek will once again get fused into one show for Thursday morning. Other than that, let's talk about this, Rich. Aren't you glad that my daughter decided she wanted to go to the game rather than you go with me?
No. Okay, because let me just say something. Sorry, Vi, but this loss was your fault.
No, you know what?
Because I have been undefeated since the fanless season when I go to Acrisure Stadium. If
So
I'd been
was
there,
I.
I'd have won.
I was undefeated as well.
Correct. So
But you know
so again, then what is the variable? Sorry,
I
Vi.
just have to admit,
Your fault.
I wore pants.
Oh!
And not only that, I didn't even wear the knee-high socks under the pants like I did the other 2 times I've worn pants.
Oh my goodness!
Because that's my new outfit. My new outfit is pants. And any other time, for those.
Wait.
Yes.
Wait.
My game day outfit, even at home, is pants.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait. Since when?
Since this season.
And I mean, when did you?
In the preseason.
When did you buy? When did you buy pants?
You know what I have? Black and gold Steelers camouflage Zubas. They are the pants that I wear out of the house to embarrass my daughter. She picks on me because I wear shorts all the time everywhere. snowing, everything else, I'm wearing shorts. So when I got them last year after the season was over, she's like, "Oh, Dad, it's snowing, Dad. You're not going to drop me off wearing shorts." Nope. So I wore pants. I had to drop her off to her winter retreat, and I wore those pants, and I made sure I got out of the car. She was but she had to be with me at the game. But yeah, I'm wearing pants every game this season.
All right, so then let me change my statement about the game. It's yours and Violet's fault that the Steelers lost.
No, well, honestly,
it's both your fault.
It's my fault.
Your fault. I don't care.
Okay. And I tweeted why it was my fault. Because what game were you and I going to go to, Rich? Together. When I got it switched up at the last minute, I ended up with my tickets to the Ravens game. If you recall,
were we the Tennessee game again?
Oh no, it was the Ravens game, remember?
Oh.
Because I thought I was going to go to the Jacksonville game.
Oh, yes.
That my brother-in-law, that our brother-in-law was hooking up with tickets. That's why we like having season tickets. You know, he was hooking up a friend, you know, to sell him our tickets to go to their first game. They couldn't go that weekend and asked if I could switch, and they could go to the Jacksonville game, which then he ended up getting COVID, and we had to sell those tickets anyway. But and I ended up with the Ravens game, which I don't want to go to, with someone that lives here. The only time I've ever seen the Steelers beat the Ravens in person was in 2004.
I remember that.
When I got the tickets in my jacket pocket on Christmas, and the next morning, my wife and I were at Heinz Field. That was my first ever Steelers game. That's what made that so amazing. Ben's rookie year.
You know, that was the last year. That was the last year I ever did Christmas with you all as family.
Yeah,
that was mine and Renee's last Christmas that we did with you. Mm-hmm. We started doing our own the very next year.
Yeah, and my wife didn't let anybody know. None of you all knew about that.
Oh, we didn't know. It was a surprise to everybody, which made it extra fun.
And that was, Ben's rookie year, and that was the game to wrap up the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Hit Plaxico burst in the corner of the end zone, blah, blah, blah. But any other time I've gone to a Ravens game, the Steelers have lost. So I didn't want to go to the Ravens game. So what did I say? I got mad after the Texans game because the Steelers lost to the Texans and Kenny Pickett got hurt. And what did I say? Do you remember what I said, Rich? I said, and it was supposed to rain for the Ravens game. I said, I am not going to Pittsburgh to watch Mitch Trubisky lose while sitting in the rain.
Yep.
So I threw my tickets, got mad, threw my tickets on Ticketmaster. And
they sold it in
went back a couple hours later, said, you know what? Maybe I should go. Boom, they were gone. What happened? Karma got me. And I ended up getting forced when I went to my other game to watch Mitch Trubisky lose while sitting in the rain.
Yep.
Oh, my. Oh. Okay, well, we're going to break it. We're going to break the game down a little bit because, one of the things is that if you look at the title of the show, it's almost.
But they are who we thought they were.
No, we changed a couple words. It's not that the Steelers are who we thought they were. It's that the Steelers aren't who they thought they were. And that is, they thought they were a team that could actually take anybody lightly and not get their doors blown off. Sorry, you're not that good. And for people that are like, oh, the Steelers are so talented and blah, blah. No, they're not. They're finding ways to win by coming together and playing as a team. It's not like they have, other than a few on defense, Trent Jordan-Watt is the greatest defensive player on the planet. That's true. But especially if you look at the Steelers offense, it's not like they've got all this talent. They've just got to do what they do with what they have. And everything. So especially because to me, that's the offense got to it. But I want to explain for those people that are out there and they're wondering. I haven't looked at the live chat yet. But do you want to know what it was like at the stadium when it came to the delays? Do you want to hear the stories, Rich?
Oh, you asked if I knew what it was like. I was going to tell you. That's why I raised my hand.
Yeah, you know what it's like?
I'm going to guess that it was damp.
Well, see, here's the thing. Not everybody had to evacuate. Only those that were in the open seating. So if you'd have been there in your seats, Frosty the Bear, he's in the live chat. He was in your seats.
Oh, yes.
We were supposed to meet up after the game. But after everything that happened, it just didn't work out. So because
Yes.
I ended up
Frosty
getting
the
held
Bear.
up.
Did you stay relatively dry in my seats? Because that was the whole
That's
reason
what I
for
was saying,
taking our
because I
seats
don't
up there.
they didn't have to move. They didn't have to move from what I understand. But I ended up being about 20 to 25 minutes behind him. He's like, "Oh, I'm at the big inflatable Steelers guy out on the lawn." Like, I saw his message. I was there 25 minutes after him, and everything. And it's all because I had to take a detour. Route 51 was closed at Nemacolin. And I had to take this
What?
big detour. And when I came up to that, and the guy was going to give me the directions, it's not good whenever they say drive 3 miles that way, before you had to go all out and around. But what happened? I said, "Is there a wreck?" He's like, "No." He says an oversized vehicle came through, clipped almost every utility pole, and all the lines are down.
Oh, good gracious.
So from the like the road right before Nemacolin, there's a little small country road 4-way. All the way up, we came back in where the light is right before the Dollar General there, just past where the Bruderhof, just past the entrance to Nemacolin. That's where we ended up, but it took us more like at least 12 minutes to go around, if not 15.
Wow.
We were held up a good 20, and that's after we sat in traffic.
Yeah, and that's going around what would be about a 2.5 to 3 minute drive, and took you 15 minutes to go around. Oh, that sucked.
Yep, that didn't drive next to the casino. I'm supposed to say it's calling my name.
At least then you weren't tempted to go in and leave Violet in the car.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. But I mean, we were almost at Ohio Pile, where it took us out and around. So was late there. Sorry, I know. I hope everyone's all right with this. This is the show. This is two brothers talking about what happened with the Steelers game. But so I was late. So Frosty the Bear, I'm thinking he should have not had to evacuate. Now, what's crazy is they did not evacuate at the worst time. With just over a minute left in the first half, there was a huge bolt of lightning from where we were sitting. I'm in the closed end of the stadium looking at the Jumbotron. It was just to the left of the Jumbotron. Now, I mean, in the distance, but I'm just saying that, I mean, huge bolt the whole way down.
That's when they got on video and showed on TV later. I bet. Because they showed one that I would have, from your seats, would have been in about that spot.
But that happened with over a minute left in the first half. Nobody budged. I'm like, if this was a high school game, they would be running for the locker room. So nobody budged. It wasn't raining, but you had that big bolt. So then that was before the 2 touchdowns, if you know what I mean. And then halftime came, and that's when they said the announcement. The National Weather Service has said that a severe storm in the area with heavy rains and high winds. Please evacuate any of the open area. Well, before they said that, that's when it started to rain. Like, it started to rain like as soon as they had scored the touchdown. The players they still had to do the kickoff and everything, and that's when it started to rain. I had a disposable poncho. My daughter had one, each in our bags. I told her to go ahead and get hers on if she wanted to. I just took my terrible towel that you all sometimes see me at the postgame show with it wrapped around my neck, draped over my head. It's a beach towel. And we were there, and it wasn't raining all that bad. But everyone was bolting. And then they made that announcement. And when they made the announcement, everyone was bolting before the announcement. It was halftime and it started to rain. They made the announcement, and I looked to my left, and I looked to my right, and both aisles to get out were all the way down to the field, and no one was moving. So I just turned to my daughter with a number of other people that are there that in my area and said, no reason to try to get up and try to go get in line. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to get out of the rain. So let's just sit here. And we sat there, and we sat there, and we sat there, and they kept making the announcements. But I'm like, we can't go. So finally, I said to her, I'm like, you know what? It's starting to clear up. The lines at least past where we are in row Q. Said, if I didn't at least try to get you out of here and your mom finds out, she'd kill me. So let's at least go.
That's funny you finally said that, because I'm sitting there thinking, oh, Dave, did you tell Janice?
So I did that. We're walking up, but we can't go any further because you know why?
Right.
Where do the people from the I've never been in the upper deck of the end zone where your old seats were. I've never been up there. Is there any kind of concourse of any or anything out there? There's a little bit, but I think a lot of people from that one were coming down to ours, and because they had to evacuate because they were high and everything there, so they're getting out. The 200 levels not because they're covered, but there was just nowhere else to go. Everyone was still just packed in, and we get up there and we just can't go any further. So we start cutting down some other roads with some other people to get further down to another exit to get out because it's starting to rain a little bit more. So we get down there close to one that we think we can get out. You had no chance to get to like the restroom or anything like that. There was one of the Acrisure Stadium workers there. I said, man, this has got to be a lot of fun for you. He's like, this is so disorganized. They have no idea what they're doing, is what he said to me.
What's bad is, they go over all the evacuation stuff before the game.
They hadn't done it yet. They did it like a minute into the second half. They went over the evacuation.
Oh, they didn't do it. Actually, you probably weren't in your seats. They do it before the game once or twice.
I was in my seat 45 minutes before the game. So,
I don't know, but even going through it just goes to show that their plan don't work.
Well, bottom line is, people. It's not that there was just nowhere else for people to go. There was just nowhere else for people to go. We finally got in and just barely got covered, just in under there. Then we moved just a little bit further because then it didn't seem like it was the edge of the tunnel was right on top of you. So, and we're just standing to the side.
And 35 seconds later, they announced, okay, you're clear. Go back to your seats.
No. People poured back into the stadium when they were still telling them to stay clear.
Yeah.
But when the sun came out, people started to go back in. We stood to the side. Another Acrisure person comes through and says, you can't stand here. You gotta move out or go in. I'm like, we can't go in. There's nowhere to go. And they're literally telling us, don't come out. And people are coming out anyway. And he's like, yeah, that's a good point. So we did that. I'm like, there's no reason to go back out. There's no players out there. We don't know what's going on in the stadium. I have people message you, be like, what's going on there, Dan? I'm like, they're not telling us anything. I'm getting all my information off Twitter or X or whatever you call it, Twixter. So we go back and pretty much everybody stays.
Do you know why people were asking you? Because they didn't say much of anything or give it any indication on TV what was going on. You're just like, oh, there's a weather delay. Gone.
Yep.
Let's go watch another game.
Yeah. So
like, okay.
That one actually wasn't so bad. It was wet, but it wasn't all that windy and cold or whatever. Then you go back in. The Steelers go out, force the 3 and out, get the ball, get at least one first down. Then you get the botched snap, a bad snap that still could have been caught but wasn't. So I'm putting fault on that. We were talking about this before the show because I was mentioning how PFF faulted both quarterbacks on both fumbles, which especially the Kenny Pickett one was not his fault when the ball rolls to him. But I'm putting that one, I'm going 70-30. I'm saying 70 on Cole, 30 on Trubisky.
I told you earlier, I was actually basically flip-flopped on that because as I told you, I figure 85% of the time or better that snap is handled and not fumbled. Now, of course, I got to watch the slow-mo of the replay where I told you that Trubisky should have secured the ball and then moved. And he still thought he had enough of the ball to go and basically kicked it out of his own hand.
Yeah. I mean, and he could have just fallen on it. But, I mean, think about it. The other bad snap with Kenny Pickett, that killed that drive. That was on 3rd down. That's a weighty down. But we're going to talk more about the game. But just the whole experience of the delays. So you come in, they get that. They score the touchdown. And then they clear us again. But you could see that, I mean, it was back to blue skies. Now, one thing I didn't say about this game when it started, I was complaining at the beginning. I'm like, what is up? This is December. I was roasting to start this game. It was so hot. I was dressed in layers. I didn't take my jacket. And I was still in my color rush uniform. I was roasting. I'm like, come on, man. It's not supposed. I almost didn't even take my rain gear or anything because they had changed the forecast to no rain till 6:00 when I left my vehicle. So I was all happy. And then the storms rolled in. And then they roll in again. And that's when they send everyone off the field. Now, this time, we left, we went and got in line right away, and we made it out to the concourse. But I had a feeling a lot more people just kept going. They did that time. At halftime, well, because here's the other thing.
Yeah, after the second one, the stadium wasn't even half full.
Well, I will be honest with you. We did not know. We just thought maybe because he was on the injury report during the game. We just thought maybe that Kenny tweaked something with his foot. We didn't know he was out until we came back into the stadium for halftime. We didn't get anything because of TV and stuff to know that it was that bad. I mean, we knew he had to stay out one snap, and then we're like, oh, if they're just taking the knee, it makes sense to have Mitch out there to take the knee. There was still the belief that Kenny Pickett was possibly going to be okay. We just didn't know.
Well, that was the same here to an extent, because it was they announced right before the start of the second half. Maybe it was questionable. Maybe it was right at the beginning of the half. It was announced Seumalo out, Pickett doubtful.
Yeah. See, I never got anything like that.
He was doubtful. And then when they came out and actually started the second half, then he was listed as out.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't know about Seumalo until I don't know if it was during that 99-yard drive or anything, or a different time. So, but I tell you, the second one, by then we were already wet. My daughter had taken off her disposable poncho when we went out, and it was all nice. And then it started to rain again. I'm like, here's mine. So I never put one on. Plus, I don't know if my fat rolls could have fit in there anyway. So I was trying to keep her dry. She's trying to keep her blanket dry so she can still use it. And we were but that's also when the wind picked up. And then even out in the concourse, it was windy. So you're freezing cold, packed in where you can't move, the wind whipping through while you're wet, and nothing to entertain you to pass the time. All they had on the TVs out there was a repeating picture of the radar. That's all they had on the TV of the concourse.
Oh my gosh.
So you're sitting there, you have no idea what's going on. No clue I mean, I'm just checking Twitter to try to figure out what's going on. It was an experience. I was ready to leave. I messaged Brian and Jeff, said, what would you guys think of me if we left? They're like, I'd have been out of there a long time ago. And I'm like, but honestly, my fear was I didn't want to go to the Clipper and have it not be running and have to stand down at the wind down next to the river.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was that experience. As we trickled in some stuff from the game, but I'll take another thing.
Let's trickle in some more stuff from the game.
Yeah. I said this on the post-game show. I tweeted out. I don't know if a Landon Roberts is just that good or if Mark Robinson is just that bad.
Yep.
Because it was bad. I mean,
put it this way. The gap between the two of them is huge.
Yeah. Enormous.
Now, whether that gap is that Landon Roberts is that good, or is it that Mark Robinson's that bad, that I'm not sure of the answer totally, but the drop from one to the other was tremendous.
Okay. And yes, they took a flyer on a 7th round pick. Remember, the other 7th round pick from the same draft, they didn't even plan on keeping through training camp, and they didn't. That's what a 7th round pick is. They took a flyer on a former running back, just turned linebacker. I get it. And he showed some promise. But like last year when they brought him in and used him when no one knew what his strengths or weaknesses was, and they brought him in that Ravens game, and he went out there against the run attack and really tore it up. But just kind of like the Steelers offense from a week ago to this week, you put stuff on tape. When you put stuff on tape, then everyone's going to break it down and say how to beat that. And that's why against the Browns the next week, they put Robinson on the field. Anytime he was out there, they checked to a pass in his direction, and they had to take Robinson out and not play him anymore.
Yeah.
And that is why I know some people have been asking, wondering, what happened to Mark Robinson? Why won't they give him a shot? That's why. Because the Steelers' new inside linebacker coach knows he's not going to get it done, not just from a playing standpoint, but from a communication standpoint. He's sitting there, they're getting ready to snap. He's directing, pointing, moving people, whatever. And no joke, Minkah Fitzpatrick comes up behind him and removes people real quick. I don't know if you guys saw that on TV. I saw that right in front of me when they were close to the end zone on that 99-yard drive when they were getting ready to score. So I know people like his position. He's got to make huge jumps next year for him to be on the 53-man roster, because to me, you have to have your backups better than that. And yes, the Steelers are now down how many inside linebackers? We don't know. Landon Roberts was estimated as being limited today. We really don't know if there's a chance he can play or not. But the problem is, I mean, when you're and I know people, I know Shannon said in our Slack channel, like, Miles Jack was done last year. He's got nothing left. I would take a nothing left Miles Jack, who actually knows a little bit of what's going out there, than in his second season, Mark Robinson, because it's really bad. That's why it's Michael Walker. That's why it's Blake Martinez. That's why it's Miles Jack, because the Steelers know they can't put him on the field. And if someone goes down in game, they're in trouble. And that's what happened. I mean, no joke. The Cardinals had 21 yards of offense until Landon Roberts went out for the final time. And the first play he was out, it was 3rd and 4. And they throw a pass 5 yards down the field, literally a yard past the line, in the middle of the field, and there's absolutely nobody there. It might have been more than 5. It's hard for me to tell when it's that far away and coming at me. And he goes for 21 yards because no one was around. That's got to be Robinson or Walker or something else.
You'd think.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to sum it up in the easiest way, you just go and look at the box score and look at the Cardinals passing. Kyler Murray completed 13 passes.
Mm-hmm.
13 passes were completed. 8 of them went to Trey McBride, the tight end.
Yeah.
Well over 50%.
Yeah.
In the passing game, the tight end killed us in the passing game, and the Steelers couldn't stop James Conner.
Wes Hickok, I guess he's now back to Wes H, says, he's like, it was, I think, about 5 yards on the catch. So thanks for
I didn't think it was tremendously long. It was past the sticks.
But he ran for another 15 yards.
Yes.
But, I mean, it wasn't like it was well past the sticks. It was, it was a yard or two past the sticks.
I think my comment as it went on, I was like, somebody want to cover that guy.
Yeah, but I'm like, I mean, on a 3rd and 4 to have nobody there, especially when you have someone like a Kyler Murray who could have just taken off. I don't know if they blitzed. I don't know if someone, I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch it. And who wants to go back and watch that? No one. Okay. Wants to. I mean, sometimes you just have to. And
you couldn't pay me to. You couldn't pay me to right now.
So
I sat through that whole thing, sitting on the couch Sunday to write knee jerk. You can't. I got paid for that. You're not paid. You couldn't pay me again to do it.
See, now let's go back and talk about, because I skipped over the earlier stuff to talk about the experience of being in the stadium for the delay and how that was, and how it made it a miserable time. If you're cold and wet, but watching football is completely different because you have that to distract you. But when you're just standing and huddling in the concourse, whole different story. So,
well, let me go
let's
back
take our break.
Oh, before you do though, because you brought up that kind of that experience, I do want to say there was a good part to your trip. Okay,
I really enjoyed spending time.
And it was in the super chat from Steelers 499. Said had the pleasure of meeting Dave and his daughter on the Clipper ride over to the game. Great conversation. Thanks for my wife and myself. The game sucked.
It's funny because I'm like, do you ever comment? He's like, he watches on YouTube all the time, but says he usually doesn't comment. So there it was, because I asked him what his screen name was. He's like, I don't use one. So yes, several, and I didn't get to meet up with Frosty the Bear, but I had him, and it's so I feel bad that I don't remember everyone's first names because I had so many people around me talking to me, and then other people that I met, and I told my daughter, I said, this is your job and everything. But I also had someone else on Twitter said, "Where are you? I'll come see you." After the second stoppage, he came and watched the rest of the game with us. It was great. Yeah, because so many people were gone. The people that were beside me, there was 3 beside me, and they had another group of 2 behind them. No one else was in their row, so they moved back with their people, and there was no one else in my row all the way to the aisle. But we went there and embraced the suck and got to meet great people, which is always good stuff, and just had a great trip with my daughter, especially on the way there. Coming home, it was so much later. I was tired. So, so when you're struggling to drive, that's a whole different story. So yeah, I wanted to get that live or that super chat when we came back. I hadn't read it yet. So I'm so glad that you went ahead and did
you
that.
read it and basically gave a nice, I had looked at it and you actually gave a nice little segue for it. So I was like, let's get that in before the break. So let's go ahead and take that break.
Let's break because I want to go back and talk about the beginning of the game and how everything played out and how very fragile things were and why the Steelers aren't who they thought they were. So if you're with us here, listening to just stories about the game on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, we're not going anywhere. And because you know why? We're not going anywhere, Rich.
We're not urinating on the fire, man.
That's right. But if you're with us here on the audio side, stick around. We will be right back after these messages. All right, Steelers fans, let's talk more about this, about the misery of this game. I had to imagine it was pretty miserable to watch it at home. It's not as bad to take a loss in the stadium because you're surrounded by so many people that are also dealing with the loss. And you kind of find comfort with each other, if you know what I mean. I've said it many times, it's easier to handle a loss sitting in my seats than sitting on my couch. But so
I'll just say this.
Yeah.
Right after the Steelers fumbled and gave up the touchdown before the second rain delay, Kyle bailed on me.
Mm-hmm.
He bailed on me. Yep. And I said, honestly, but I don't blame you because this game sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It did. Well, and the thing is, you got, how do I say it? Without Kenny Pickett, you kind of felt like it was the Jaguars game all over again, and they weren't going to have a chance to come back. But they really did. But let's talk about everything about, because to me, I felt that the Steelers controlled this game for the first 25 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, it was their game. Okay. They get the ball and they're coming down the field. Now, they did something even before this, but it really worked.
I should make that 20 minutes, not 25. It was 20. They controlled the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Thank you. Yeah. But they made the play, and on second and short, they took the deep shot to Pickens that they completed. Loved it. Great time to take the deep shot. But it seemed like that became a recipe for them even before that and after it, that they would run on first down, get anywhere from 4 to 8 yards, and then they wanted to try to hit a bigger play right then on a pass. But then you're left with third down, and they'd want to pass again. I mentioned this on the postgame show when I called in there. And I'm like, if you're running the ball for 5 yards a carry, you're like, oh, well.
It was okay to have times where you ran it on first and second down.
Yes. I'm like, or even the third down. If it's 3rd and 3, I'm okay with that. But what happened? The Steelers, after that Pickens play, they ran it for another nice gain on the next play. 2 passes that were either incomplete or no gain or anything like that, and kick a field goal. I'm like, don't overthink it. Remember when I said this to Ben on the preview, I think it was, going into week 2. I said if the Cleveland Browns were smart when they had Nick Chubb, yeah, we know what happened in that game. They would run the ball every single play until they were left with something that was longer than a 3rd and 3. Just run the ball. Never stop running. The Steelers were going up against the number 31 run defense. Couldn't stop them at all. And yet, 2 out of 3 plays, they're passing the ball. And they're gaining good yards on the runs. Now, when did the Steelers finally run on 2nd down? When on 1st down, they lost some yardage. And it was like 2nd and 13. And they ran the ball for like 9 or 10 yards on 2nd down. Because that's when you would expect them to pass. It felt so much like felt like an overcorrection. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The Matt Canada, we know what's coming. This was so much of, they should know what's coming. We're going to do the exact opposite of that, to where you could predict the opposite.
And the whole thing of being unpredictable means not doing the same thing over and over and over again. So even if you're doing the opposite of that Canada, when you do it over and over and over again, it's predictable.
Yeah. So, but I felt that the Steelers, they were decent with their execution up to that point. They settled for the field goal. That was deflating. Then you had the next drive. Was it the next drive that the Steelers went 3 and out because of the bad snap on 3rd down, or was that the drive after that? It was one of those.
I think it was the second one.
But I mean, my goodness, they're throwing James Conner for a loss or no gain on every play. There was no yards gained or anything on the first drive by the Cardinals. They had 1 first down on the next one. When they got their field goal, it's because the Steelers were pinned deep, had the punt, and had the face mask on it. Right? Was that the first half, if I recall right? Because it was being punted towards me, so that would have been the first quarter. No. Was that where they got got close? Or am I thinking of they stopped them on 3rd down and it was the 15-yard penalty on Landon Roberts? Is that what led to the field goal?
That's the one. That's the one.
Okay, I'm getting a couple things mixed up because the thing was that we were talking. I don't know what they said on TV, but man, did he hit that guy? But at the same, but what I said.
By the way,
this is what I want to know by watching it in person, because I haven't seen it on tape yet.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question first before you say it. It looked to me like Landon Roberts went in to tackle him, and the runner ducked his head right into where Landon Roberts was coming in, and no matter what he did, that's how he was going to hit him. That's what it looked like in stadium.
Dave, do you want to know what it was? No. That flag should have been thrown 100 out of 100 times.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I mean, it was vicious.
No, not just vicious. Okay, Dave. The ball was already so far past the receiver, and Landon Roberts still took 2 more steps.
Okay,
before he hit him.
Well, remember,
it was like there was enough time
for me.
There was enough time that as the play's happening, this is when Kyle was still up there with me, that I yelled no before Landon Roberts hit him.
Yeah. Okay. So it also was. So the big thing is he had no reason to still hit him because
Correct.
My question was, there
should have never been a hit.
Running back, right? I felt like he put his head in harm's way, but at the same time, if he hit him that late, then that makes a lot of sense too. So
it was a vicious hit and a tremendously late hit. Yeah. So even if you want to say the runner ducked his head and everything else, the hit should have never happened.
Okay.
Period.
And
not only that, but the hit was made. He wasn't trying to ease up. He wasn't trying to do anything. The hit potentially could have been avoided 100%, but you at least got to look like it's easing up, and you're running into the guy. He just bulldozed the guy.
And that was on 3rd down, and that was a drive that they got a field goal. That would have ended it. But so, like I said, we couldn't tell. I will say this. My daughter turned to me after that, and she's like, wow, you could hear them hit each other all the way down. That was around midfield, wasn't it? or at least the 40 or so.
Yeah, it was. It may have still been on their own side. It
Mhm.
was 40, the play started was 3rd and 12 at the 40 at the Arizona 46.
Okay, so yeah, that's not where it was. But I mean, it was loud, and honestly, I don't know how it looked on TV. It looked like he was out cold on the ground.
It was a vicious hit. Like I said, it was a vicious hit. But like I said, I don't know that the way it sounded that they announced and what they talked about on TV didn't talk about the lowering of the head or anything like that. They talked about it being a vicious
Late
hit, but unnecessary. Late.
Okay. So because that was something that I couldn't see. So thank you so much for clearing that one up. So, but the Steelers did that, and like I said, they had only given up 21 yards, including for to get the long field goal there. And then they're driving the ball down the field. And that's why maybe it's the feeling in stadium or anything. If the Steelers, even though Kenny got hurt the play before, and yeah, he had Calvin Austin wide open on the left side, but that wasn't where he was progressing through, and he took off. I'm going to say this because they did show us that replay a lot. I think if Kenny's not getting in the process of getting hurt on that play, he extends the ball for a touchdown.
Possibility.
He had it down whenever he did that.
Yeah, he didn't even try to stretch the ball out, which is interesting because he usually at times tries to stretch the ball out when I think he shouldn't.
Yeah, and I mean because that was close to the touchdown. If they would have settled for a field goal, you would have heard the boos like crazy. I know some people, a lot of people hindsight that you should have taken the 3 points. I'm like, you just marched the whole because that drive started inside their own 5. It was at least inside their own 10. It was right in front of us.
No. It was started at the 20-yard line.
Oh, 20, okay, did it felt like it was
let me see. I think the punt. Double check, but I think the punt hit the end zone.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
That was the big boom with 56 yards, and they said they were surprised because that was the first time the punter had a touchback all season.
Oh wow! See, these are things you don't hear when you're in stadium.
Yep.
But I know a lot of people were critical of the 4th down. To me, you go for that. The defense had been throwing them for so many negative plays. Honestly, I turned to people around me. We expected a safety in the next 2 plays. Honestly, the way the defense was playing.
Yep.
We expected a safety in the next 2 plays. When they didn't get it. People didn't like that they weren't under center. I'm like, it's a brand new quarterback. If they come in and go under center and fumble that snap, just because what normally happens when a quarterback gets hurt, the center runs over and him and the quarterback take a bunch of practice snaps. I didn't see them doing that, but I don't know if they showed that on TV or not.
They did. He took some snaps.
So I didn't
honestly
blame
though.
him.
Here's the only thing I can say about this. Okay. Honestly, when you stop and think about it, Mitchell Trubisky is a much more athletic quarterback than Kenny Pickett.
You could have quarterback snuck.
We should have snuck the ball.
Yeah. I mean, if Kenny Pickett's in there, then they're going to tush push it or whatever.
I was hoping for a sneak.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a sneak.
I no joke, because I talk to everyone around me. That's what we do. And I'm like, is Mitch Trubisky going to come in for one snap? Because at the time we just thought, Kenny was just, he tweaked a little bit. He's got to come out for a play because they stopped it. I says, Mitch Trubisky going to come in for one snap and get a touchdown run. That's what I expected. And then they lined up in shotgun. I'm like, okay, well, hand it off to Najee. They haven't been able to stop Najee the whole game. I did not know that Sam Marlowe was out on that play. I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't either. Nobody did.
Yeah.
It wasn't until later that the announcer went back and realized it.
Yeah, but my goodness, come on, offensive line. You need 1 yard down there. I don't care that Kenny's hurt. You got to show that you're going to dig deeper and give Najee somewhere to go. And even if they went under center, my goodness, I drives me nuts how the Steelers run the ball when under center. The running back waits in the backfield for the quarterback to run the ball back to him when they run from under center. It's not like when I was coaching in high school, you took the snap and you turned and you were handing the ball off basically at the line of scrimmage. I don't know if they do that because they're afraid the defensive line could be too disruptive and knock. I don't know. But you hand the running backs running forward and getting the ball right there around the line. Just watch the Steelers run from under center. The running back waits for the quarterback to run the ball back to him. So honestly, sometimes which
is okay if you're running a stretch play, but it's not a stretch play.
Yeah. So if that's what you're going to do anyway, getting a shotgun snap and handing it off is actually makes it happen a little bit faster if you think about it, because it's faster for the snap to get back there than it is for the quarterback to run back there. So honestly, I know KT Smith talked about it on the Here We Go show about running wide. I didn't want them to run wide. They've been running right up the middle and getting 5 to however many yards every time. They had one run play that only gained 1 yard up to that point, and that was the worst run play of the game. That was the one that stopped them. That changed everything, and I'm not going to disagree with the coaching call with that at all.
No. Honestly, the game changed 2 plays later.
Yeah.
Because it was 2 plays later that
third and 4
Roberts got hurt. No.
Yeah.
Second and
9.
Well,
the second play he got hurt, and then the third down they gave up 3.
They gave up the 21 yards, and that just started a snowball.
Yeah.
And
but I liked the call to go for it because I even said if you don't get it, what are the Cardinals going to be fighting for their life just to not give up safety? I never imagined that they were going to give up a 99-yard touchdown drive. Drive it all the way down the field, because it wasn't even like a one big play got them there. They drove it and held it, and that changed everything. And the Steelers they come out at halftime and had a chance to get right back into it, and you had 3 and out, turnover, touchdown.
Yeah.
Delay.
And you definitely go for it on that 4th down too, because you look at it, up until that point, the Cardinals had 4 possessions and had gained a total of 41 yards, with 32 of them coming on the one possession that got them the field goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Mr. Woodstock says, Dave, the old dive plays from yesteryear. That's what I want. I want the dive play. And then Weston said, question, why do running backs not so far behind a quarterback on short yardage plays? Honestly, why? I can give you a reason. I'm not saying I agree with it, but if I were to guess the reason, my reason would be the threat of the sweep of running wide.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But see, that's why I used to love the old, fullback and running back in the old split eye.
Mm-hmm.
The broken eye formation. The to where you could do the quick hitter up the middle with the fullback and still have the running back there as a threat to go wide. You had both options available, but nobody runs it anymore.
Yeah.
We've lost a piece of. There are pieces of football that through the years have been lost, that at times I wonder why they've been lost, because I could see how they could still be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But just people have deemed that that's a different era. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, really, because there were reasons why they did it, and there were reasons why it worked.
But it just goes to show the Steelers aren't who they thought they were. They're too fragile. Because think about it. They had a game that they were dominating, and they went from their quarterback and left guard, who was, to me, the best. I think Seumalo was the best offensive player on the field up until he went out. They were that one. One time I turned to someone, I was like, that hole was so big I could have ran through it. And they were running over Seumalo. He's clearing people out.
He could have played for the USFL team from Pittsburgh. He was a mauler.
Yeah. And so you lose your quarterback and your best offensive lineman that day on the same play. You fail 4th and goal to 1.
And 2 plays later.
Yeah, you lose a position that might not be the most key position, but it is when you're going with the 4th and 5th options.
Yep.
So that that turn of events is what set this game to then kind of just get out of hand, where it was didn't get it, 99-yard touchdown drive, come out of halftime, get the 3-and-out stop, bad snap, fumble, team's got it at the 21, and you don't bend, don't break, you break. You give up the touchdown.
Yeah, you just
and
break.
I know you said about James Conner running all over the Steelers. I beg to differ. Okay.
And I know why you're going to beg to differ.
You want to know why I beg to differ? He had the 2 touchdowns, and he was doing his thing. How many rushing yards did James Conner have? He had 105, correct?
Yep.
How many of those came after Deontay Johnson's touchdown dance, which that was a touchdown in front of me, and I didn't even see the dance. I didn't know. So,
well, hold on.
Anyway.
Hold on.
No, I know the answer. You don't have to look it up. I already did.
I was going to say, okay.
You know how many rushing yards he had after that?
52.
Was 50.
Okay. So of their 52 yards,
47 yards, and James Conner had 50, and then Kyler Murray 3 kneel downs. That's because he gave it to Conner every time. James Conner every time. He had 50 yards. So everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Conner ran all over him." I mean, he had 55 yards up until 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But you know what he did? He did what the Steelers wanted James Conner to do when he was in Pittsburgh. He closed it out.
Closed the game.
He closed it out. So he got the touchdowns by them getting down there. But I mean, it was Connor McBride. That was it. That's really all that did anything to this game. This game really was more about the Steelers not doing what they needed to do. So, yeah. It was rough. And so anything else you want to say for the game?
Just glad that one's over. Let's hope things move on from there. And let me just, let me kind of preface this. I'll be going into this a little more detail in my Worthless 2 Cents article tomorrow. And here is, and part of this is where I feel what I've discovered about this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Okay. Mm-hmm. What you want in a football team is you want a team that is on the high end, and then you want the difference between their best and their worst to be small, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be where the average game is on the high end, and they don't deviate from that a whole lot, better or worse, right? Mm-hmm. The Steelers right now are their average is mediocre. Their high, the highest they go is somewhere between okay and pretty good.
Yeah. And
their worst is god awful, what we saw on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so what it is, and that range that they play in is too big a range.
Yeah. And to me, a lot of this was the offense. Now the defense, because the defense was getting the job done until Arizona figured out Elena Roberts wasn't on the field anymore. Now it doesn't mean the defense.
They gave up the 99-yard touchdown drive, and that's what everybody remembers. But you got to remember that the other 2 touchdown drives were 33 and 21 yards.
Yeah,
it's they were handed extremely short fields.
Yeah. Now, do they need to make those 3 and not 7? They do.
Yeah, they do.
But my thing is, to me, it's more about the offense, and part of it is, I'm just going to say this. From everything that I've heard, all our whispers and everything that we get, the rest of the coaching staff and the players just despise Matt Canada. They come out and the offense doesn't put up a bunch of points, but puts up a bunch of yards against Cincinnati. Cincinnati was a team that didn't give up a lot of points. I talked about that on StatGeek last week, so it kind of made sense. Cincinnati was a team that gave up lots of yards, not many points, and the Steelers did just that. But they gave up even more yards than normal. And the Steelers, that was something they hadn't done for a long time with the yardage. It's almost like they let off the gas. They felt finally we're free. Finally, we can do stuff and be a real football team. Here we go, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we got a short week. It almost felt like they were preparing for their short week before they played their game on Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm putting this one on the offense. And, Deontay Johnson said something today about taking them lately. Jaylen Warren. Now, Jaylen Warren, the question he was asked was framed a little bit that they did kind of set him up to make it to where he had no choice but to say that. So I didn't really care for that one. But Deontay Johnson really doubled down on it today. So, but to me, that's like you had one decent game with yardage and you think you're good enough to not be hyper super focused. This offense has no choice but to be super focused, just to keep their head above water. You don't get that luxury. Matt Canada being gone did not take you from barely NFL offense to one of the top in the league that can beat teams even when you don't have your best stuff. You got to have your best stuff all the time.
Yep, got to be the A game every week.
Who you are. That's who you are. Now, I want to say one other thing before we get to this week and everything, and that is this. I've seen on social media and other people refer to this as, oh, it's a Tomlin special. This is the Steelers losing to an inferior opponent. That's just something that the Steelers do. Okay? And guess what? You're right. They do that. You know what I'm going to say?
So does the rest of the NFL.
So does everybody else.
Yep.
My goodness. I was
saw it last
looking
night.
at
Saw it last night.
Well, because here's the thing. I was looking at games since 2020. I was compiling some numbers for StatGeek, but I'm not even going to get to do this on StatGeek because I also have to do last minute thoughts. Games of where teams were favored by 5 points or more and lost. There were 3 of those games this week. The Steelers were one of them. The other 2 teams that lost that were favored by 5 or more points, Kansas City and Jacksonville. Jacksonville's favored by 10.
Yeah.
By 10. So this happens. I went through and did a bunch of the numbers and everything else. The Steelers since 2020, they have lost games where they were favored by 4 or more points 4 times. The Bills have done it 9 times.
Yeah.
The Ravens have done it 7. Now, a lot of that has to do, part of the reason you lose games where you're favored by that much is the fact that you play games where you're favored that much. You know who hasn't lost any games where they were favored by 5 points in the last, or since 2020? You know who hasn't?
Wait a minute. Who's the worst team in the league?
We'll say the Jets haven't. They've only had one game.
Yeah, they've had one game where they're favored by 5 points.
Haven't. They've only had 2.
Yeah.
The Panthers haven't. They've only had 1. The Falcons haven't. They've only had 2. The Bears haven't. They've only had 2. Now, there's one exception to that. Since 2020, the Miami Dolphins have been favored by 5 points or more 15 times, and they've won them all. That's impressive.
That's impressive.
That's impressive. But you get other teams like Houston has 1 loss out of 4. Okay, stuff like that. I mean, there are teams that don't even have winning records when favored by 5 points. The Las Vegas Raiders have been favored by 5 times. They've been favored by 5 points since 2020, and they've lost 3 of them. You know, so the Steelers, they're not great. They're not great. They're in the 20s when you'd rank them by win percentage. But I mean, I throw out a bunch of these games. If teams didn't have at least 4 games, I wouldn't even count it. But I mean, my goodness, the Jacksonville Jaguars have been favored by 5 or more points 6 times. They've only won twice. They're 2-4. So people that think this is just a Mike Tomlin thing, why do you think why do you think there aren't teams that are going 0-17 all the time? Because teams that are supposed to lose games still win games. And teams that are supposed to win games still lose games. And when it comes to the Steelers this year, sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox a little bit. They have lost 2 games this season in which they were favored. This one and in Houston. And as we can see now, Houston, they got their doors blown off. But as you can see now, if the Steelers were to play in Houston again now, there's no way they'd be favored in Houston.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. People are like, well, what about the Browns? The Browns were still favored in that game. The Browns were still favored in that game that the Steelers lost in Cleveland without Deshaun Watson. So I know sometimes you can talk about teams with bad records in December in the Steelers. I didn't have a chance to. That's much harder to compile and everything. But
let me tell you one other thing here. Bring up one other thing. So, we all, if everybody's like me, yesterday morning, was just awful, right? You just woke up and it just not going to be a great day. Guess what? The person, one of the guys works for me, the Chiefs Jacksonville fan, was the same way this morning.
Yes.
And he basically talked about watching the crap fest he had to watch last night and how angry he was. And he said, angry to the point, I'm not talking about it anymore, and walked out of my office.
And I know, and honestly, we wouldn't have talked about this game this much if it wasn't for the fact of me being there to kind of share the experience of who evacuates for thunder or for lightning in Pittsburgh in December. I mean, come on. Who would have? That never would have been on my bingo card.
I'm just wanting to see then if the old meteorological tale comes true then for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Don't you know what that is?
What's that?
Oh, that if you have a thunderstorm in winter, you'll have a snowstorm within 10 days.
Let's see it.
That comes, and believe it or not, at least here on down here where I am in Maryland, that comes true a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and of course, we still get a lot of people screaming about Kenny Pickett, who honestly, the offense was fine when Kenny Pickett was out there. And then he got hurt.
Yep.
Yeah. If Kenny Pickett doesn't get hurt, they win that game. I mean, they scored that touchdown and everything's different. So, yeah. So people could still complain about Kenny Pickett. I mean, do what you got to do. But, and it's not that Trubisky was bad either. But I just think everyone else would have played different. Not even necessarily.
It's not that Trubisky was bad, but the whole flow and continuity of the offense just changes.
Yeah.
It's just different, and it should be different. You would think it would be different when you got a different person driving the car.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So.
All right. So we move on.
Yeah. We're obviously running over tonight, but that's because I had stories to tell from the game. So, Rich, Thursday night. What I didn't have a chance to look up, and I was going to, because I'll talk about it Thursday morning, is how do the Steelers respond? How do they typically respond against it? Jim Wexell called this game about when the Steelers played 2 back-to-back division games. They have a huge letdown afterwards. They're like 3-7 when they play back-to-back division games, let alone on the road. He expected a huge letdown, but he thought they could still win with it. And like I said, even with the big letdown, I still think they win if they don't lose their players. So now you know what you have. You know you don't have your quarterback. You've got Roberts was at least participated somewhat in the walkthrough. I'd be shocked if he can play on that groin. But he wants to play against New England. This is when he probably had circled on his calendar ever since he signed with the Steelers and the schedule came out. So the thing is, do the Steelers generally put together back-to-back bad performances? If the Steelers lose to back-to-back 2-win teams in December, they don't deserve to win any more games. They don't deserve to be 500. They don't deserve to be in the postseason.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Exactly.
Playoffs?
You kidding me? You kidding me? Yeah. So that's what this game really is. So is this a quote unquote must-win game? Like I said, I don't like must-win games until it's mathematically possible for that. So it's going to be like we said before. It's a can't lose.
Yeah. It can't lose.
Can't
lose back-to-back games against 2-win teams.
Yeah.
At this point in the season.
You can't lose.
You can't.
You can't. And I still don't know if we can be talking about playoffs but you just can't lose this game. You can't do it.
Right.
I think we'll get a better evaluation from this team based on this performance to know is this team that we saw on Sunday,
But they are who we thought they were.
is that who they are? Or was that a team that just didn't stay focused and now learned their lesson? Was the lesson learned too late?
Yeah. It's funny. So, longtime listener of our show, Thaddeus Kennedy, who doesn't get to come live anymore based on his work schedule when he has to go to bed typically. He was texting me earlier this evening, and he was asking, and he brought up something about playoffs. I said, honestly, right now, you don't think about playoffs. You don't think about where you finish. You don't think about anything. Really, right now, more than ever, it's really just, what is the next game? What do we have to do? And then when that game's over, you say, okay, what is the next game? What do we have to do? And that's how the Steelers should be going through their season right now. And we as fans, we always like to start looking farther and farther ahead and think about those things. And we need to understand that the Steelers inside the locker room, they probably aren't. And honestly, they can't, because I think that's part of what happened this past week.
Mm-hmm.
They got to look into the short week and think about what they needed to do. Hey, let's put the whooping on Bill Belichick when the Patriots are down, and people got to thinking about that, and we lost sight of the Cardinals, and we lost the game. It needs to be, what do we need right now this week?
And I mean, it might not even be necessarily the opponent. It could have been just losing focus, knowing that as soon as this game's over, you've got to try to get healthy and turn around and not have much recovery time to play again on Thursday. It might not have mattered if they played. If the same thing could happen if the opponents were switched. It very well could have, because it's the whole notion of, I'm going to play this game, and as soon as this game's over, I've got to get hyper. If you have that routine to get ready, to have your body ready to play and practice for the next opponent, you've got to put that into overdrive. You might have been thinking more about what you're doing 3 hours after the game than even what you were during the game, because of what you had ahead of you. So don't forget that as a possibility when you're thinking about the Steelers looking past. It could have even been not even the opponent. But man.
No, but it could have been. It's just the focus came off of, what do we need to do this week? And as soon as you start thinking about something beyond this week, you've put yourself at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So we can sit here and as fans, and we can talk about playoffs, and we can look at the schedule moving further down the line and what needs to be done. But I can truly understand in the locker room why that entire focus is going to be, we can't think about that. We can't talk about that. We need to think about what we can do this week to get a W. And then we can look after that game's over. Then we'll look at the next week, and we'll figure out, what do we need to do to get a W? And that needs to be the mentality within the locker room. Like I said, we're all going to look at it different, because, I mean, come on, we're fans, and we want to analyze things, and that's what we do. And it's okay if we want to worry about that, but I don't want the Steelers to be thinking about or worrying about that.
Let's look at what I said on the flip side. The Steelers could have been like, oh man, what am I after the game? I got to start getting prepped for this, whatever, to turn around and play again on Thursday night. Guess what they get to do this week? They don't have to worry about that at all, because they got 9 days. Some people didn't like that. Oh, now it's a Saturday. I love that they moved that game to a Saturday. Yeah. I'd rather have the one less day after on the mini bye, because they play on Saturday the next week as well. Then you get a regular week in between those.
Yes.
So I really like that the Steelers have that. But this opponent, I mean, New England, I mean, Stevenson is he's week to week. They're expected. He's not going to play Thursday. He was their biggest offensive weapon. Ezekiel Elliott just isn't the same, or really done what he needed to do there. I haven't really wanted to watch New England much, because they're kind of like Steelers. They're boring to watch.
Yeah.
This could be the most all-time boringest game ever. And trust me, if I wasn't a Steelers fan, I would not watch this game.
Yep. Correct. I wouldn't either.
Because you have two of the most boring teams from this season that are going to be facing off against you. I mean, the only thing that to me that could be worse is if it was the Patriots and Panthers.
Yep.
That would be pretty bad. But we need to get rolling into this. I don't have the preview, so I get to give my score too. So the last I saw, it depends on what line you look at. I looked at it I looked at it this morning. And the over-under, the Steelers are still favored by like 6 points.
Oh.
But the over-under is
20.
30.
Oh,
30.
I'm taking the under.
30. I mean, I'm going to check it again right now. This is DraftKings. Okay. 30. I'm double checking.
This is two teams that can't average 15. I'm taking the under all day.
Steelers -6 over under. I don't think there's been a 30 for a very, very long time that it's been 30. Now that could change up until game time because what the line only matters. It can only set a record if it's because it moves what it is at kickoff. So, but man, 30. So Rich, you're going to give your score. I'm going to give my score. Then we'll put it out there for everybody else to give their score. Don't put it in there early. We're not going to read it, and we also don't want you to influence. I already have mine in my head. I know what I'm saying.
Oh, I've had mine in my head since before we went on the air. So, I got burned.
Uh-huh.
I got burned because at one point I said I didn't know if or when the Steelers were going to have to show more consistency before I could consistently pick them or feel good about picking them. And I felt good about picking the Steelers last week, and I got burned. With the injuries and everything else going on, you're looking at this game being two really good defenses. There probably will not be a lot of points. I'm taking the Patriots score of 5-3.
Your score is not that far from mine, believe it or not. I don't know if the Steelers find the touchdown zone. It might take the defense to do it because the Patriots offense is that bad. But I think the defense can get it done otherwise. You ready for my score? I have the Pittsburgh Steelers defeating the New England Patriots 9-3. That's what I have right now. Now, that might change by the time the staff article comes out on Thursday. But the way I'm feeling now, I'm like, this game looks like it's going to be no fun. Now, could the Steelers bounce back after that play? I mean, the worst thing for the Patriots is probably for the Steelers to lose the week before. How many times do we say that when the Steelers are taking on an AFC North team? That you're like, oh, man, if they take a bad loss right before the Steelers, it's usually not a good thing because of them bouncing back. So that could be the way Patriots fans are looking at it. Oh, man, I thought maybe we could knock off the Steelers. But after they got beat so bad by Arizona, they're going to come out, with a whole different attitude. We'll see if that really happens. But that's what I have right now. We got scores blowing up. So, yeah, we were going to try to keep this to a shorter show tonight, and that didn't happen because
I knew you wouldn't.
Yeah. Austin's got 13-0, whoever the other team is. So she has the Steelers not being able to score at all with good old Mitch Berger. Remember, if you don't say a team, we assume you mean Steelers. Kathy Ford says 14-6 Steelers.
So we got mom and daughter on opposite sides.
You got Brian Brown says 5-3 Steelers. Game-winning safety on 99-yard drive attempt. Okay. Gabriel Golden thinks they're going high scoring, 26-20. Okay.
He's
Sean
taking the
Manahan.
over.
Oh, yeah, 26-20. That would be Steelers. He says Steelers 9, Patriots 6. Wizard or Boz. See, things aren't going right in a game. They just don't have it together when Boz even misses a field goal, which looked to be. It was going away from me.
That was weird.
It went and then just. It just.
And there was no wind. There was the flags on the goalposts were hanging straight down.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of places, you can't always trust the flags that when the ball gets up there. Because it got to a certain height and it just took off.
I know.
If you watch that. Okay. So I said Sean's, right? Okay. Tom Vallejo says Patriots 16, Steelers 6. Mr. Woodside says Steelers 16-9. Steelers Pittsburgh says 6-3 Steelers. So a lot of people were thinking Thomas is back at it.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thomas
Nice
Riley.
to see you're back.
Steelers 17, Patriots 17. Okay, Felicia. Hey, Felicia.
Hey, Felicia.
She's got 3-0 Steelers or 0-3 Steelers. Okay. Foots Big has 13-10 with the Steelers in an ugly game. Okay. Yeah. I mean, really, what would make Steelers fans feel better if the Steelers win this one by 2 scores? But especially with a backup quarterback and everything, I don't know that they're capable of doing such a thing. I really don't know. It would make us feel better, but I don't know that they could. I don't know that they're capable of it. The 2 scores to me is 2 field goals because the Patriots can't get more than that. Rob Fitoff says Steelers get 2 safeties and win 4-3. Christopher 11 has 10 to. Sorry, wow, I misread that big time.
Yeah,
10-31 Steelers. That Mitch is going to come out and tear it up. Wes has 28-3 New England Patriots. Because Wes is one of those guys when the Steelers lose, they're going to lose the rest of their games. And when the Steelers win, they're going to win the rest of their games. And that's why we love you, Wes, because you're very consistent with that.
He rides the emotional roller coaster.
Yes, he does. He embraces the emotional roller coaster. Okay, David Poe has a 13-13 tie. Let's see. Gavin Anthony has a Steelers 16-13. It'll set offensive football back. My score will set back offensive football back 20 years. But look at it. The Patriots have gone 3 straight games, haven't given up more than 10 points and lost all 3 of them. Okay. Harvey Stone says 11-10 Steelers. Joseph Donovan says 17-13 Steelers. Night Riders have 16-9 Steelers. Book it. Okay. Outside Steeler fan has good guys 17-12. He's like, Mitch is going to be like at Carolina last year. Jim Leoski, I think I got that right, says Bozomatic goes, he's the one who came up with the it's probably Jim Leo Ski. He's the one who came up with the Bozomatic for us to put on a t-shirt, by the way. He says Bozomatic goes 4-for-4 but loses 13-12. Okay, State of the Steelers, Daniel J has 12-6 Steelers. I'm feeling you, Daniel, with that kind of score. Okay, Gary has 20-13 black and gold, which, speaking of black and gold, we didn't even mention the Steelers were in their color rush this weekend. Not this weekend, this Thursday. Got to get the day right. Okay. Steelers Reaper, who met me on the Clipper, has 12-9, another close one like that. What do we got? Sherry Richards has 12-3 Steelers. AFL 67 has Steelers 10-6. I could totally see that score. Valley Ford says 17-10 Steelers. Wet. Kathy says about wet and frozen. Did you see the post-game show?
I did.
Okay.
I didn't comment on anything because I was stewing, but saw the post-game show, saw you look like a drenched puppy on the post-game show.
Well, that's why I put wet and frozen as my name, because it was on my phone, so I had to type in a new name.
Yep.
And that's what I went with. Okay, Tyler W says both defenses set up short field, Steelers 16-9. Okay, Seth W says 9-3 Steelers. Jerry Cherryband says 16-13 Steelers. And No One You Know says 12-9 Cheatriots. Let's see. Kevin Brokenborough says Steelers 20, Patriots 9. Let's see. Steelers Pittsburgh guys this. Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones? Bailey Zappi seems like he kind of tipped the hand. He says, he's like, I know, but I'll let coach announce it. So to me, that says that it's Zappi. Okay. Wes says, you're not wrong, Dave. You're not wrong. Yes. What else do we have? Oh, Jamie Carlo says 10-3 Patriots. Am I missing any more?
I
think that's it.
Right. Nope, you got them.
I got them. All right. So, Rich, you know what? This makes me not want to go to a Steelers game again for a long time. The only way I'm going again this year is if the Steelers win the AFC North and host a game. The playoffs. But then I don't think people want me to go. Yeah, I know, because you know what? That's what I shouldn't be doing.
Oh no, you can go.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't take Violet.
Yeah. Well,
and you got to wear shorts.
And I got to wear shorts. All right. So, Rich, what do you want to say here to close this out?
Hey, you know what? Let's put that one behind us. We got it.
Yes. Short week. Good time to have it.
Yeah, it was ugly. I didn't want to think about it. To top it all off, I went to bed then finally on Sunday night and got a call for work and had to get up in the middle of the night and go into work for 3 hours. Isn't that great? Which then, of course, just makes that Monday morning suck fest that you always have after a loss even worse. And I was just like, oh, so it's rough. Okay. So I hope, honestly, Thursday, I just want to see better football. Just look like a football team. Look like a football team. Yeah. Look like guys that are out there and want to play. That's it. Just look like you want to play. Make me not be angry that I have to stay up and write a knee-jerk reaction article Thursday night and watch that instead of getting to go to bed.
Yep.
That's it. That's all I asked for. I'm going to be there one way or the other. It's the Steelers. It's Steelers football. Every week we get closer and closer to the end of the season. And whether the Steelers are playing good or bad at the end of the season, I always then spend a couple weeks missing Steeler football, no matter how it ends. So at some point, I'm going to be missing it. So Thursday night, hoping for some better football. I'm going to be sitting on my couch watching it. I know Kyle, even if the Steelers are doing well, I don't know if he'll make the end of that game. Depends on how late it starts to run. But I'm going to be there, watch it. Stay up, watch the post-game show. Can't wait.
Can't wait.